it's your guy Ty, and welcome back to Listen Black, your hub for all things Black publishing. Today's guest is Kimberly M Denesse, the author of Not All Women Wear Hot Pants. Some Carry Guns. Kimberly writes fat girl-friendly fiction and female rage fiction. So you know this is about to be an interesting conversation. Now, there is a content warning as rape and sexual assault is discussed briefly. All right, let's get into the episode. Hey, everybody, we have Mrs. Kimberly M Denesse. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so very much for having me today.
Of course. I am very
excited to be here.
And Miss Kimberly is the author of Not All Women Wear Hot Pants. Some Carry pew pew guns. Oh my goodness. Before we even get any further, like, where did that come from? Because, you know, like, that is so badass in my mind, you know?
Where did the title come from?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I'm always inspired by the strangest things. And I don't know. What was I watching one day? Something about hot pants. And I can't remember exactly where it came from, but I do remember the subject matter was hot pants. Okay. And then I just kind of started thinking, and it just hit me. Not all women wear hot pants. Some carry guns. I said, damn, that would be a great title for a book. And I write it down. Whenever a title hits me, I write it down because I tend to have the title before I even have the subject matter of the book, believe it or not.
Okay.
So it just hit me one day and I was like, man, that would make a great title. So I wrote it down. And then eventually the subjects for the story started coming to me and I said, hey, that's going to be the title of the book.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Yeah. You know, we actually had or not we, but I was going through some of the author forums on Facebook and like they were asking me like, oh, like I always come up with titles and then I can't make the story off of it. Like, do you guys come up with your titles first or do you come up with the story first? And all that. And there was like this huge long thread of everybody giving their unexperted opinions. But that's pretty cool that you get. No shade. I'm sorry. It's just, you know, you're not, you know how it goes. You've self-published your first book and now you're expert. But no shade, I swear, no shade. What was I gonna say? So you like the route of making your titles first and then coming from a place of knowing what is going to attract everybody.
Right. And again, it's not the way everybody operates. And just about the whole, you know, publishing your first book and you're an expert thing. I just want to personally say you are never an expert as far as I'm concerned.
Amen.
You should never use that term. You can say experienced, but you're never an expert.
Exactly.
Because there's always going to be something else that you have to learn. And this industry is ever changing, like so many industries. But when it comes to writing, publishing, etc., there are so many things that change on a constant basis. So to me, you can never say you're an expert. I don't care how many years you've been in the publishing business. You're never an expert. But you know, again, that's my opinion. No shade to anybody. No tea, no shade, as they like to say.
The biggest trees today. See, I see yeah. Right now today it's supposed to start raining tonight, so I guess I guess we're bringing the clouds in. Oh my goodness. So, your brand, if I'm not mistaken, it is Fat Girl Freestyle, right?
Yes.
Okay, Fat Girl Freestyle, and your genres are Fat Girl Friendly Fiction and Female Rage Fiction. Now, those seem like they're on two opposite sides of the spectrum. I'm sure they're super, super related, but okay, so like let's start with the Fat Girl Friendly Fiction. Like, what is that? What to you? What do you say that is? What is that?
So, In many industries, there's for women of size, and more so in the literary world, there's really no characters that reflect, plus size women. I prefer to say women of size. Okay. Fat women, BBWs, SSBBW, whatever vernacular you prefer, feel free to use.
Wait. What's SS? Super size?
Super size or super size or super sexy.
Oh, okay. Super sexy. I like that one. I've never heard of that.
People say super sexy. Yes, it's a thing.
Super sexy BBW.
We can have many conversations about that. I'm not sure it will be safe for your podcast, but
I love that.
We can certainly have many conversations about that. Okay. But I just wanted to see women such as myself reflected in the books that people, pick up and read. The only ones I've ever found they've always been, the plus size women in the books have always been like these church lady characters.
Okay.
And I'm like, that is so not what we're all about. It's okay to be a church lady. That's fine. I have nothing against that. Again, however,
come on, church ladies are super freaks. Get out of here.
Well, okay, and that is true. But we are, fat girls are sexy, and we have sex, and we date, and we have romance, and we have adventure. We have all of these things going on. And I just was not finding anything to reflect that in the books that I read. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it myself.
Okay.
So that's what I did with Fat Girl Friendly Fiction.
That's going to be the name of your next book, isn't it? Fat Girls Have Sex. No, I'm kidding.
that is, listen.
It's a title now. No, look, that's a title.
It's a title. It's a, it can be tweaked a little bit, but we'll work with it.
I'm kidding. No. Oh man. Okay, so that totally makes sense. So in these books, this is separate from the rage, right? This is separate from the female rage.
The Fat Girl Friendly Fiction is separate from the female rage fiction in that the female rage fiction is not, there's no specific physical characteristics for the female rage fiction. And I write it that way because when you pick up Not All Women Wear Hot Pants, Some Carry Guns, and you are reading the story, I want you to imagine yourself as that character. So I try to keep the physical details down to a minimum, or I don't give it any physical characteristics of the character at all. Okay. I want you to hear her voice. I want you to hear what she's saying, but I want you to create in your mind, and if possible, put yourself in her place and really become a part of the story and the experience. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. There you go. That's like I always say when we're going with audiobooks, you don't have to cast. Like people always want to see what the actor looks like when you're casting a narrator. It's like, well, for most of this stuff, like it's super ambiguous. Like you don't need to know what the actor looks like, because now you're just going to be like, oh, they're not going to be able to do it just solely off of how they look. And it's like, no, that's not real. Like that's why they're actors. That's why they're professionals.
Yes, exactly.
That's why we do that. No, that's super, super cool. So, I guess what would you say got you into this anyway then? So you're saying we have our Fat Girl Friendly Fiction and we have our female rage. So what inspired this? What brought you to this moment?
So as far as the female rage fiction, and I'm going to tell you this, I didn't even have a name for it until I went to a writer's conference. Okay. And this young lady asked me what it is that I wrote, and I was explaining it to her. And she goes, wow, that sounds like female rage fiction. And I said, could you repeat that? And she said, female rage fiction. And she explains to me that it's basically, a woman gets angry, she gets that rage, and she just kind of takes her power back from the person who took it from her. But she does it in a very violent manner.
Okay.
And I was like, I like that shit. I said, that is exactly what I write. That is exactly what I write. So she gave me that, and it's an actual thing. It's an actual genre that quite a few people write in, but it's not popular.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not popular.
Yeah.
Yet. Exactly.
Mostly because people don't know about it. Mostly because people don't know that it exists.
Exactly. But I cannot wait to get the word out about it. I feel like it's violent, but it is empowering in such a way that, because we've all been there, whether you are a man or a woman, we have all been there where we have had those thoughts and those feelings that we could really hurt somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically Black Twitter, It's basically Black Twitter.
Oh my God, I love Black Twitter. I love Black Twitter. Oh my goodness, Black Twitter. I love Black Twitter.
So it's very violent. It's very violent and very scary at times. It's also hilarious. So I think it's, female rage. Black Twitter is basically the same thing.
Right. And it is. And in the story, Handbook for the College Call Girl, which that was originally going to be an entire book.
Okay.
But I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like it would be best if it was served up as a short story.
Okay.
So in that one, she's not really, well, the lead-in character, the main character, or one of the main characters, she does have some experience with violence, but the girl that we see throughout the story, she is empowering herself in a different manner. And it in reading it, I understand that some people may read it and go, what in God's name is this woman writing about this? But again, that is a thing that people like, this whole role play. People are really into role play situations, and that actual scenario is a thing.
It is
for people. That's I just kind of wanted to introduce that little, I don't know if you would really call it would you really call it like a subculture? Because I mean, people, like, it is a lifestyle. These fetish things are a lifestyle for some people. Anyway, I don't want to get into it.
I think it's more regular than people want to admit,
Right.
Only because of how our Puritan society is. I just think it's something that they just don't want to admit. But, the people that are in there are real people. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it with, but it's regular people. It's people that you would never expect to see in this, So I think we just have to find a way to let people be free. Let them be themselves.
Right. And that's something that I do. Like, I'll see people. I like to people watch. And so I'll just, go and sit somewhere and just watch people. And I will make up stories about them in my head.
Oh, wow.
And just sit somewhere and pretend I'm like, I bet that person likes to get spanked. And then I'll create like a whole story out of it.
Oh, no.
It's a very interesting process. And sometimes I have to laugh to myself because I'm like, girl, you are really crazy. Like, who sits around and does this?
I mean, yeah, I've people watch. I don't think I've ever thought about who gets spanked and who does the spanking. I've never thought about that.
I just think all kinds of stuff. It's but writers, not just writers, but creatives in general, we are quirky. We are, that's why I call myself a fringe dweller. because I am with those people who are on the fringes,
Okay.
who are, considered weird and strange, and just, you get asked a lot if you're crazy.
Yeah.
But maybe we're the sane ones and everybody else is, they're really crazy.
Thank you. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. That's what I've been trying to say. Yeah, we are the sane ones because we actually live our human impulses. And everybody else is just fake robots, something like that. Oh man. So as a creative, what would you say, like, when would you say you figured out that writing was your creative outlet? Like, there's tons of creative outlets out here, right? So why writing? When and why? When and why?
Well, writing was actually my first quote unquote job.
Okay.
I've been doing it since I was about 10 or 11.
Okay.
So I would get upset with my mom and I would write her letters. I think she still has a few of them, if I'm not mistaken. She was able to save some.
That's good.
After Katrina. But that's where it started, just as me expressing my emotions, expressing my feelings. And because I wasn't always able to express myself verbally, so I needed some type of outlet. And then, writing just became my thing. And the older I got, the more I started thinking, is this something that I could really take seriously and turn into something that, I could actually live off of, create a legacy for my children. And for a long time, I did not take it seriously. But when I turned 40, I started asking myself, what is it that I really love? What is it that I really desire? What is it that I am very passionate about? And writing has always been that thing. And I always say writing is my first love because it's the one thing that has been with me through most of my existence. And it has never failed me. Never, ever. Because when I write, I transform the energy that, whatever the energy is. I wrote a book in 8 days one time because I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. And there was a lot of emotion, a lot of feelings going on. And I just sat at the computer and I wrote. And 8 days later, I had a book. So it's a great way to channel your energy. It's a great way to channel your feelings. And I believe if more people had that, then there wouldn't be so much violence in the world. There wouldn't be so much strife, and there wouldn't be so many problems, there wouldn't be so many issues, wouldn't be so much confusion. And just to kind of make that even more specific to a group, young Black men. Yeah. They pick up guns, but if they picked up pens and really had someone to help guide them and say, hey, you can express everything you're feeling, write it down, turn it into a work of art. And not just with writing, but it could be photography, it could be painting, it could be anything. I think we have a lot of artists in that generation, and they just don't have the guidance, they don't have the materials, they don't have the voices from older generations saying, hey, you don't have to pick up a gun, you don't have to be violent, you don't have to go through this cycle of prison and jail. Do this, channel that energy into a different thing. And we would have, man, if that could happen for them, man.
It's funny that
would be like a whole renaissance going on.
It's funny that you brought that up. So we actually, I directed a book in December of 2020, and it's called Permission to Be Black, My Life with Jay-Z and Jesus. And this guy, his name is Adam, he goes by AD. Adam Thomason, and it touched on the fact that, like what you're saying, like the fact that you can't, as a Black person, be allowed to need an outlet or to need help or need that guidance. Like instead of having the ability to, I mean, he was talking about more from getting help with mental health, but I think what you're saying is also an avenue of mental health. Like the fact that I got to, like, I'm just going to be personal. In my life, there's some crazy stuff that happened to me in college. And if I did not have my trombone and the ability to go out to a field and like blast the mess out of that trombone, I would have made some terrible decisions. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's not as simple as that, right? But being able to be allowed to have that outlet, like you said, with painting or with writing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be rap. That's nothing wrong with rap, but like, you don't have to necessarily only go through that outlet. Like that is huge, and that's so important. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. You know, because like you said, young Black men, we're told, and young Black women too, we're always just told that you have to be strong, you have to grin and bear it, and you have to push through, persevere. Perseverance of trauma without a means to like ease that trauma is killing. Like that's how you persevere. You kill what's causing the trauma. And if your only means of killing it is to actually kill somebody, then that's what they do. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So I 100% agree with you. And I really
find myself telling people when they start saying, I know I got to be strong. I got to be strong. I got to suck it up. I find myself telling them, stop it. No, you don't. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to suck it up. You can be weak. You can cry. You can be angry. You can be all of those things. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel everything that comes with whatever you're experiencing so you can move forward. But being strong, you know, constantly telling people, you know, and one thing I hate to hear people say, and I had someone I used to be friends with, two of his sons had gotten into an altercation, and the youngest one started to cry. And we were on the phone at the time, and he tells him, stop crying, suck it up. And I told him, I said, no. I said, I am not going to be a party to your toxic masculinity that you're passing on to your children. I said, do not do that. I said, let him cry. Let him express to you how he's feeling in this moment. Then you hug him, tell him it's okay, and you move on. I said, this is the problem in our community. We want our children to be strong. We want our children to not express their emotions. And then they grow up and they're angry Black men and they're angry Black women. And nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. This is why. Because we're telling them to suppress their trauma. We're telling them to suppress their emotions as humans. This is why the world has the misconception that Black women are so strong. We are not. We are not. And so many of us suffer in the quiet and in the darkness. And Black men have this perception of just being angry. It's hood trauma. So many of them are suffering from hood trauma. What happens when you grow up in the hood? Unfortunately, you see people getting killed. You see people getting arrested. You see people selling drugs. You see people getting sexually assaulted. Not just saying specifically in the hood, but that's what I call it, hood trauma. Because I just happen to know a lot of hood people. And that's how I refer to them. I'm like, yo, look, you suffering from hood trauma. Because you have to talk to them on their terms so they can understand.
Yeah.
So
like to that point.
That's just, and again, I didn't went completely off on a tangent.
No.
I am very passionate about certain things, Ty. I'm so sorry. Excuse me.
It's fine. We have a R-rated. This is an R-rated show. Don't worry. No, well, like to that point, like, and I don't. Hopefully, nobody looks at me badly for this, but so when I first moved to New York, I learned a lot about catcalling, right? And it wasn't that I never was a catcaller or anything like that, but I never really heard people complain about it. And I realized why I never heard anybody complain about it was I either A, lived in a Black neighborhood where the women just like grinned and bared it, or I lived in a white neighborhood where it just didn't happen, right? So when I was in this mixed environment where I see these women, white women particularly, complaining about catcalling, in my mind, I was like, oh, well, particularly complaining about being catcalled in the hood, right? When they would go through. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't gentrify the neighborhood. Maybe you shouldn't show up in the neighborhood. Like, you don't see the Black women complaining. And like, in my mind, I didn't think about how messed up that was about like, no, the Black women aren't complaining because they don't mind it. They're not complaining because like they've been told that they have to put that down and they just have to suppress that and accept that horrible, harsh treatment. You know what I mean? And like what kind of trauma that brings them.
Yeah.
You know, like thinking about it from that aspect, it was like, oh wow, like I'm basically being like the white person that's like, hey, you know, slavery happened 400 years ago. Get over it. Like I'm essentially doing the same thing, and I absolutely don't mean to. You know, so yeah, like it's super super vitally important that folks can just start to open their eyes and start to not push these negative, harmful, traumatizing narratives on this next generation. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. I really am. I really am. Thank you
for the space to bring it up.
Oh, that's what we're here. Listen, Black, man. We want to listen. We're here to listen, learn, and grow together as a community. You know, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. I do have a few questions. So here at Listen Black, you know, we're not necessarily, with a lot of podcasts, everybody's like, oh, I want to find the big celebrity or the next like 30 for under 30 that's coming up. And that's who I want to interview. I only want to interview those types. I think that there's value in all people, right? So my goal is to just really interview and learn from as many people as possible. Like, I don't care about your status. I don't care about any of that, where you come from, who you're new or married or whatever, right? Because everybody brings value. Now you are from New Orleans. You are a self-published author from New Orleans. That New Orleans is not known as like a literary hub, right? So what are some of your experiences being a self-published author in a place that's not a New York or a LA or a UK or Atlanta or something like that?
So I'm going to be honest.
Be honest.
New Orleans is one of those places where, and people seem to have this, you know, misconception that it is a place where you can just kind of come here and do anything. That's not necessarily the case. Okay. If you're into music, you know, it's a very music-friendly city. If you are into painting even, it is a very, you know, as evidenced by the people who are in the French Quarter selling their artwork, you know, it's a very friendly city for that as well. You know, visual art. Writing, not so much. I find that we have a harder time here. I haven't exactly figured out why yet.
Okay.
I'm still exploring why. But I have a lot of friends who are writers, poets, authors, et cetera, and we all kind of have the same issue.
Okay.
Even the playwrights. I have friends who are playwrights as well, which I do the same thing. I write plays as well too, and it's just not well received. And listening to Tyler Perry's story when he talks about one of the shows he did, he sank all his money into it, and there weren't very many people that showed up. But now that he's, once he started becoming popular and well established, now all of a sudden New Orleans wants to claim him. So this is definitely a place where if you go somewhere else and you succeed and you come home, oh, then yeah, you'll have all the support in the world.
Okay.
But in the beginning stages, it's like you really have to prove yourself almost. Again, I'm still exploring that, and I'm looking for other people like me. Like I'm always on the search for other writers like me. But everybody's writing in like these popular genres. So I still feel like I'm on an island, which is fine. I'm good with that. No issue with that at all. But I do wish that we had a more supportive environment. Like I feel like if I went to a place like Atlanta, that's like, Black artists, I feel like really succeed there. I do believe that my work will be much better received there than in my own hometown, and that's unfortunate. Or even if I went to New York, or well, not so much California because they're just so, yeah. But
why are you hating on Cali, man? Don't hate on Cali. Cali's great.
It's not that I'm hating on California. I think California is a beautiful place, but I just don't know if I would, my subject matter would be well received. It's like you start talking about fat friendly things or fat focused subjects, and people get nervous. People get uncomfortable. Like a lot of the things I write about, even in my stage productions, it is, it's trauma. It's about sexual trauma. It's about, physical abuse. But I put these things out there because we just don't talk about it enough in our community. And by the time we do talk about it, some violent act has occurred that forces you to talk about it. And I'm like, I don't want it to keep getting to that point. I want us to face our things, our issues, our problems. I want us to talk about it. I want it out in the open. That way people can stop feeling shame.
Yeah.
Can stop feeling shame.
It's like, how do we prevent trauma? Like pre-trauma. How do you take care of that?
It's not anything that you'll ever be able to prevent because humans are humans, and some human beings are just awful people. They are terrible. Some of them are just monsters. So you're never going to prevent it, but you can do better at giving people the space, a safe space to talk about it and open up about it. Yeah. And that's something else too. I think of myself as a safe space. So when someone calls me or they want to have a conversation with me and they're like, I don't want to tell you too much. And I tell them, I say, listen, I'm a safe space. Say whatever it is that you need to say. Whatever it is, I'm going to listen. And we need more people like that in our community as well.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Man. Man. So, as a wow, sorry, it's like like processing that. That's a lot to process. I don't want it to seem like I'm just moving on from that because it is so important.
Yeah, I completely get where you're at with it. It's a much larger conversation than we could
Absolutely.
ever have within this space. Even though, I know you're an open-minded person, you are, very welcoming of all subject matters, and I appreciate that, but we need a larger
Yeah.
space for
Oh, yeah.
us to discuss these things. And that's
Yeah.
just what it is.
No, you're right. You are right.
So, instead of people arguing on Clubhouse about, biracial people and whether they deserve reparations, that's, to me, that's some bullshit. That's fucking stupid. Why y'all even having a discussion about that? Why? When there's just so much more that needs to not just be talked about, but taken action on. But again, Ty, whole different conversation.
People that talk about the, they got to talk about what they. People are afraid. I guess at this point, people are just afraid. They're afraid.
Look, I get it. I understand. Mm-hmm. But that's something else that I'm very passionate about, is this whole, are biracial people really black just because they have one black parent thing?
Yeah.
I myself am biracial. My biological mother is Caucasian. My biological father is African American. And I'm sorry, but I have been looked at as a black woman my entire life. Yep. That is what I am. I don't feel like anybody has the right to point at anyone else and say, you cannot identify as this because of this. Number one, ain't your fucking business.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. Number two, the fact of the matter is, we are, each and every one of us are so diverse, just as people, as individuals. We're not even talking DNA here. We're not even talking genetics. To me, is race or your ethnicity important? Yes, because it's culture. But you can't tell a person what they feel connected to. You can't do that. That's very wrong. You cannot tell a person what they are connected to.
True.
So for people to come to me and tell me I can't identify myself as a black woman, I need to stick with this whole biracial thing. You need to tell people you're biracial. Why? As far as I'm concerned, if I want to tell you I'm a fucking potato, I'm an Idaho potato. I'm an Idaho potato. You don't need to know why. You don't need the details. Just accept that. But again, whole nother conversation. People cannot accept themselves, so how are they going to accept you? They're not comfortable with themselves, so how are they going to be comfortable with you?
Yeah.
So, I'm just teetering on the edge of a lot of things these days. I'm having this whole transition, this whole awakening thing is happening. So I'm feeling a lot of different emotions, a lot of different feelings, a lot of different, thoughts towards a lot of different subject matters. And I'm not saying that ADOS isn't important. It is. We are, that as a community, we are important. Mm-hmm. However, we have so many things in our community that need to be healed, that I just don't feel like arguing over a person's ethnicity and how they identify is important right now. I don't think it's just not important.
No, I hear you. And that's like the with Listen Black. That's why so at first, of course, it has Listen Black in the name. But at first, it was like, oh, I'm only going to use Black authors or Black narrators, like blah, blah, blah. And then actually through a client of mine, True Colors Theater, I was introduced to the term BIPOC or BIPOC. Mm-hmm. And it really, not that it made me understand, but it definitely opened my mind to the fact that, because I hate the term person of color. Like I hated that term. I was like, oh my God, person of color. So it's another African American term. This is another term. Can't nobody say black. Nobody wants to say black. We're black. But to be honest, like, okay, so we had a guest, Thoraya Dyer. She is Australian. She is, by all accounts, like if you saw her on the street, you would think that she was a white Australian lady, but she's actually from Lebanon, right? So I would have missed out on it. And I actually met her because she did she did short stories, and the short stories that the one that we happened to work on, they were set in Egypt, and Egypt is in Africa, and the African diaspora, people were brown in her stories, and I actually didn't expect when I saw her face, I actually didn't expect it, and it was like, like you can't limit people based on your eyes and your assumptions, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why we opened it up to be BIPOC, and even she said when she started her interview, it was that she wanted to give thanks and acknowledge the fact that where she currently lives in Australia, she was inhabiting native lands, like of the indigenous people of Australia. And it's like, wow, like if I had just saw her photo and never dug any deeper, I never would have learned all this wonderful information that she had to provide and to offer folks, and myself, so we definitely have to keep that door open. We definitely have to keep that conversation going. And I just hope, like when people are listening to the stories on Listen Black, like they can feel that and they can start to relate to that. And it opens up doors and windows and minds and opportunities for folks to really become more inclusive. And I'm not talking about inclusive like Nike saying that we're your friends or that kind of stuff, but like really being inclusive and sitting and thinking about things from other perspectives, other people's experiences, and really embracing that.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And this whole journey for me, I guess you can say with my identity, so to speak. I did last year, towards the end of last year, I decided that I wanted to try to find members of my biological father's family. Because I met my biological mother a few years back, met members of her family. But I wanted to connect with my father's family as well. So I did an ancestry DNA test. I was disappointed in the beginning because all these white people popped up. And I'm like, okay, I know y'all already. I know y'all. I know where y'all come from already. Great. Nice to meet you. Wonderful. But it started getting more interesting because it was a lady who reached out to me, an older lady. We had a DNA connection through her father, I think it was, or her grandfather. And she explained to me about like her great grandfather or third time great. I can't remember, so many stories. His last name was Loveland. And she went into the story of how she and I, we were connected. And I wrote back to her and I was like, great, wonderful, this older white lady. And then she blocked me.
Uh-oh.
Which is okay because, it's fine. But then I started thinking, I said, you know what? I said, there was a Loveland plantation, I believe, in Louisiana.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, oh, my goodness. I said, this lady is one of that, who the owner of the plantation's relative. I'm descended from. So, I started, thinking about it. And I thought, that must be difficult for her on her end, kind of coming to terms with the fact that, her family had, which I'm sure is something that she knew, her family had this plantation, the enslaved people on the plantation owners, mix and mingling, we know that we didn't really have a choice. Our
getting
ancestors
raped.
didn't have a
We'll
choice.
just say it how it is.
Well, I didn't want to say it like
enslaved
that,
people
but,
getting raped. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for saying the word. I didn't want, I know you say it's not PG, but a lot of people get triggered by the word rape. Okay. But we didn't have a choice in the matter, and they took what they wanted. Yeah. So, not that I have any sympathy, but I understand. I understand that was, a difficult thing for her to come to terms with, that, hey, I'm related to these people because.
At least she had the option to block you, I guess.
And that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. It does not, again, that does not bother me.
I know. This is more for me, like, oh, you have the option to block. Like, I still have to live with it. Like, I can't just block that part,
Right. And let me tell you, Ty, it's hurtful, because then it makes you think of all the horrible things that your ancestors went through. Mm-hmm. For you to even be alive right now, for you to exist in this world right now, do people understand the atrocities our ancestors survived for us to even exist? Like, that within itself is such a huge thing. It's so enormous. And I'm starting to wrap my mind around it, but it is also very sad. I remember we have a museum here called the Cabildo. And I remember going there, and on the third floor, they had some things from slavery, from the slaves, earrings. They had some shackles, different things like that. And in the middle of the exhibit, there was an actual auction block that the slaves used to stand on. Mm. And you could see, I'm getting emotional just even, but you could see the grooves in the auction block where their feet were from them turning around and moving. And I touched it and just passed my hand over it. And it was it's like I got this rush of emotions over me. And just the pain and the fear and the sadness, just all of these things, the anger that you could not express. And here I am in this moment, this Black woman, I'm free. I'm able to do all of these things because of what my ancestors went through. And we still don't get it. We still don't understand the full aspect, the full impact. We're still not getting it. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. This is all connected to our trauma. It's generational. We carry it from our ancestors because they had no choice but to hold on to it, but to deal with it, but to be strong, but to keep living and moving forward and just hoping that something will change. So these are all the things that we are carrying with us throughout our lives. And that is another reason why I am always like, listen, express what you are feeling, express what you are dealing with, express what you're going through, regardless if it makes people uncomfortable or not. Fuck them. And speak your mind. Speak your feelings. All of those things. It's something that we need to do. And that's why I say so much of this other shit is not important. Now, I'm sorry, Ty, I didn't went off on the tangent again.
No.
I'm going to... I don't even know what your original question was.
No.
Just kind of went... I apologize, but...
No, when I first conceptualized like having a podcast to accompany the platform, I was like, in my mind, and I guess I said it out loud too. I was like, well, look, this is going to be a place where Black people can come and like get this content and like have this experience, and it wasn't going to be about being Black. And that was such a foolhardy, like the more I do these interviews, the more I see like how foolhardy that was, because like that is the content, that is the experience. Like you can't have one without the other. And I don't know what I was thinking, but like it just goes to show, it's like we have to, like if Listen Black becomes a space for this conversation to at least start, like who knows where it's gonna go.
On, I gotta stop you, Ty, because what I told you about being a big Black locomotive.
No. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, so that's me. On this part, it's not about the locomotive, because this is something that I want to go on the journey with it. It's not like this 100%. This is not going to be driven by me. Like, yes, I am here and I am the person like who kind of created it and came up with it and that stuff. That's fine. But you drive the story. The authors drive the story. The narrators drive the story. The storytellers drive the story. I'm just a vessel. Or Listen Black is just a vessel. I don't even want to be the vessel. Because I don't have enough space. I'm filled up off one conversation. I don't have enough space. But I want this to be the vessel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that 100% is not like negative talk or like it's bad self-talk. This is just, I want it to be people-driven and story-driven, not Ty-driven. Ty drives enough. Ty drives enough.
We certainly appreciate that, because, again, we need that. We need it. And I don't think we'll ever get enough of it. I don't think there ever could be enough.
No.
So I appreciate you for even doing this, because, man, let me tell you, it's an amazing experience just to be in a place where you can express yourself and you're not censored. Does me personally a world of good, because I don't like to be censored, which is why I write my own books and publish my own books.
There you go.
Because I don't want to be censored. I don't want anybody else to be in control and tell me, well, we like this, but you got to take this out. Not going to do that. Not going to do it. People can either read it and like it, or they can read it and hate it, or they can, read it and just be indifferent about it. I don't know, but I'm not going to change my content because it makes people uncomfortable. Hell no.
Yeah.
Not doing that.
And you shouldn't. So where can people go out to actually find your content? Where are we sending them? Where are we sending them?
Fatgirlfreestyle.com.
Okay. What are your social handles? IG.
My Instagram is Fatgirlfreestyle.
Okay. What about Twitter?
Twitter is Nola SSBBW.
Okay. Oh, she said I'm the super sexy BBW. And how can they find you on Facebook?
Facebook is my regular name.
Okay.
Kimberly M as in Mary, Denesse, that's D as in David, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, E as in Edward. And you can tell I do that a lot.
Oh, yeah. So Derek, Edward, Nancy, Edward, Sam, Sally, Edward.
Yes.
Bet.
Yes.
There we
Fat
go.
Girl Freestyle also has a page on Facebook that you can go and like.
Okay. So type in Fat Girl Freestyle and we're going to find you. Fat Girl Freestyle. No, you gotta ask. Huh?
I have a YouTube channel too. It's Fat Girl Freestyle channel.
Okay.
I'm working on getting everything in better order, Ty. But this whole operation is
Come on. Indie world. We know how it goes. We know how it is. You can't, what is it? Perfection is the enemy of good. You just got to keep doing good until you can, and keep working towards perfect, which we'll never get to. But, just keep doing good. Just keep doing good. So, I have to ask, to wrap it up, because it is Fat Girl Freestyle. Do you have some bars for me? You got some bars? I need some bars.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm messing with you.
Are you kidding? I'm a horrible rapper.
I know. That's why I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
Horrible.
Oh, good. Everybody can't be a rapper. Some of us have to be regular people. It's okay.
But I will read you a poem if you allow me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you would allow me.
Absolutely.
To do so, that would be great. And I carry so many notebooks with me. It's crazy. But I have this notebook addiction.
Yeah?
Some pens, yeah. All right. So here we go. This poem is called Dear Black Women. Allow me to call you by your proper name, Goddess. I have noticed the world has replaced your name with so many others, none of which represent or honor you as the mother of creation. Your crown has gone askew, your shoulders are heavy, your back is crooked, and the world has made your feet so heavy you are sinking into the earth. But here I am, Goddess, to remind you that your existence is golden, your presence is needed, your essence is a life-giving gift from God. You, Black woman, are the true warrior, a protector of light and life, the beginning and the infinite. So, Black woman, Goddess, here is your reminder. Adjust your crown, pull your shoulders back, straighten your back, stretch your limbs, pull your feet from the earth, adjust your gait, and walk into your greatness. Because the world needs to remember who you are, who you were created to be. So allow me to call you by your proper name, Goddess. Thank you.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. That is incredible. I had total Maya vibes. I just felt like woman phenomenally phenomenal. Just all in that.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
That is, oh my goodness. That is such an honor for you to even say that. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you again for allowing the space, for making the space, and for allowing me to come here and just get totally off subject at some point, but express myself. I really appreciate it. I truly, truly do. Thank you so very much.
Man, thank you to our guest, Kimberly M Denesse. You can find her at fatgirlfreestyle.com, on IG at fatgirlfreestyle, all one word, Twitter, NOLA SSBBW, all one word, or Facebook at Kimberly M Denesse. Make sure you go and check her out, y'all. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Audio has been edited by Colin Reed. The video was edited by Jada E. Brown. I am your guy, Ty. This is the Listen Black podcast. Stay safe, choose love, and always listen black.